Hi, welcome. It's Pip Todman here, your Stampin' Up demonstrator in the UK for queenpipcards.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are looking at Jar of Flowers. This is my second week of my Floral Month series, and we'll be doing lots of things with different techniques with floral stamps this whole month. So this set is from the new annual catalogue, the 2020 to 2021. Wow, that's a mouthful. Annual catalogue from Stampin' Up, and it's a lovely set which comes with jars and flowers for all of the seasons, and it coordinates with the papers called Flowers for Every Season, and of course all the other embellishments and ribbon and all that kind of stuff that goes with it. So, but today I have done a set of cards through the seasons. So this is winter, spring, and then summer and autumn. So that's how I see the seasons going, and I've made these ones already, but today I thought I'd show you two different versions of these using some of the new in colours that we have. So this one uses Night of Navy and the gorgeous papers from In Good Taste. No, In Good Taste or A Good Year? No, In Good Taste, just checking. So that's what the papers are on these. So I thought I would switch it out and change it up. These two use stamping blends to colour, and these two use watercolour pencils. Today we're going to be looking at inks and Wink of Stella, and also watercolour pencils. So we do a lot with blends normally. I thought I would switch it up and change it around a bit. So this one uses the gorgeous crushed curry. This one uses the gorgeous crushed curry and Cajun craze with a little bit of early espresso in there. And this is the new early espresso faux suede ribbon. And it really does feel like suede. It's amazing. This one uses blends, as I said. This is Rococo Rose and Pretty Petal Pink with the same ribbon, which is carried over from last year's catalogue, which is handy. This one uses blends, Rococo Rose again, but also the Night of Navy to go with the Night of Navy in here. And then these are the ribbons for the Flowers for Every Season ribbon combo pack. You get 3 packs of ribbon in that, and that's lovely. And then this, as I say, is winter with the Night of Navy, and pencils again with some real red in there, and a bit of cherry cobbler. We always love a bit of cherry cobbler. So yeah, so those are the cards that I've done so far, and today we're going to be recreating the winter one and the summer one, but very differently. So we're still going to use some of this beautiful misty moonlight and silver and white trim, because it's just so pretty and it just says Christmas to me, so that's definitely a good one for winter. But we're going to be changing up the pinks to use the new Magenta Madness, which is bright. It is a bright pink. It's gorgeous. I love it. It's almost, dare I say it, it's almost like a luminous pink. What's that? Neon. It's almost neon. So yeah, definitely, for sure, it's a good one. Right, so we're going to be doing a little masking technique and some other different techniques as we go through. So I have pre-stamped, I've pre-cut all my pieces so that I don't waste time just cutting out bits of cardstock and stuff like that. So this is Misty Moonlight, which you can see is a lovely kind of wash, like a denim look. It's beautiful colour, soft blue. I like it very much. This is 14 point, and then this DSP is 14.9 by 10. So 10 this way, 14.9 this way. So it'll go edge to edge for the card. That's what I want the whole thing to look like. And then this one is 12 by 6.5. And then this is 12 by 7. So again, it'll go edge to edge at the top and the bottom, so it matches the card that it's going. It needs to be that big because these are actually really quite large stamps, so you just need to be aware of that when you're stamping them. Make sure you give yourself enough room. Okay, so the colour that we need for this is Night of Navy, because I don't actually have any of the new in colours yet. They're not available to us on pre-order this year, so all because of COVID. So we're sort of making do with different colours, but the Night of Navy goes with it quite nicely. It's not quite the same, but if you stamp it off and then stamp it, it's not bad. So that's what we're going to do. Stamp it off once and then stamp it close to the bottom. Try and get it straight, Pip. Let's hope. Oh, that's not bad. Okay. And I've already done this wrong. I was supposed to be doing masking, wasn't I? Let's turn that over and start again. So before we get to our night of navy, dearie me, we need our I'm going to use smoky slate this time because it's slightly warmer, so it'll go just a little bit better with the misty moonlight, I think. Now, I was going to do this completely tone on tone on tone, but I do think a little bit of smoky slate's not going to do any harm. So let's get that stamp first. And again, for this one, we want it really faint because what we're actually doing is just doing like an outline. How faint's that going to be? Yeah, so we want second generation. So stamp it off, and then we know roughly where our vase is going to come to now, having nicely stamped it previously. So we stamp this one up here like so. Okay, and then what I did was I stamped it onto a post-it note with the sticky end at the bottom, and then I just cut round the flowers just at the bottom. You don't need to cut more than that because you're not going to be over stamping like right up here. Why does that not look like it's lining up underneath? Oh, I've got it crooked. Let's get it right. That's better. There we go. Okay, so now we've stamped that. Now we can come back in and stamp our jar. See, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes too. Everybody does. Okay, so now we're going to go back in with our Night of Navy. We're going to stamp it off. And this time we now know that we can go up as far as those flowers. So we can go a little higher. And I'm not putting it over very much because I still want the jar to show through underneath. But I just want it to go just a little bit in between those flowers if it can. There we go, like that. So that's how masking works. You put the thing that you want in the front on first, and then you stamp the thing that goes behind. It's a bit sort of doesn't really make much sense until you try it, but then when you lift that off, you can see the flowers are now in front of that stamped image. Okay, so because we're going to mount this onto card which is very blue, it's all blue, we're going to use our Wink of Stella, and we're just going to use navy. So we're going to do the same kind of tone on tone, monochrome kind of look that they've got here. That's what we're going to try and recreate anyway. So squish your ink pad from underneath so that you get some ink, and you can start even just with the jar by just drawing in from the edge like so. So you have that sort of blue tone, especially where those lines are. That's a perfect opportunity to do a bit of blending. And plus a jar would shine as well, so it's not unreasonable to be putting Wink of Stella on the jar. Take it all the way down. It sort of just softens the look. I love this about Wink of Stella, that you can do this with the ink and just draw it out whilst at the same time adding a little bit of sparkle, which, you know, everybody loves a bit of sparkle. Well, you do if you're in my crew anyway. It's almost like it's mandatory. If you're in my gang, you need to like a bit of sparkle. Not necessarily glitter, but just a little bit of sparkle. Okay, so now we're going to go up, and I'm going to use the DSP as my sort of guide as to which ones are darker. So the leaves are quite a lot darker. So I'm going to go in first with those, make those a bit darker. And this is sort of no line watercolouring because eventually the smoky slate sort of disappears into the background. So you end up being just you and your eye watercolouring this in, which can be a little bit scary, but don't panic, it looks great once it's done. And then this helps us to leave those berries looking quite white against the background, which is handy. So I'm going to speed this up because you don't need to see me colouring all this in necessarily, but I do want to sort of get it all done because I think it'll look, you know, it needs to be finished. And there isn't one I prepared earlier in this case, so bear with me whilst I go through all of this, and you'll sort of see me colouring stuff in. I might try and add a bit of music, but it might just go a bit quiet, but hopefully you'll forgive me. Okay, so I think that these ones here have got a little bit of grey in them, so I'm going to mix my ink with a little bit of blue and a little bit of grey. See how that comes out, because I think that's more how these are for these big flowers down here. I think they've got a little bit of grey in them. Yeah, let's see, that's perfect. It just drops the tone slightly. And Smoky Slate's on the blue side of the greys anyway, so it just works perfectly with these. Sort of these, don't know. Yeah. Good. Okay, so then make sure that you clean your brush off by just whooshing it across some scrap grid paper, not in any ink, and then it goes clear again. But then also make sure you clean your ink pads out. Okay, so you don't want to leave any of this shiny stuff in there, the Wink of Stella, because otherwise when you close your ink pad and do that again, that pressing, you're going to get shiny stuff on your ink pad, and we don't want that. So we're going to clean that off, especially the mix of blue and grey. Let's get rid of that for sure. Okay, so that's those done. It looks pretty, doesn't it, don't you think? And it didn't take very long. I've decided not to do the stems in this case because I think it will just detract from the whole picture. So now it's just about assembling. So ignore my first attempt on the back. At least it kind of goes in the same it's the same sort of place. Make sure we've got this nice and there we go, lined up. Now sometimes you might find that you cut your cardstock wrong, and that's, you know, perfectly allowed because we're all human after all. And it might just get a little nick on it like that, or it might just be that it's not quite straight or lined up. So don't worry about trimming stuff if you have to. It's perfectly normal, because when you put a piece of cardstock into a trimmer and you think you've lined it up to 12 for both pieces, it could quite easily have moved, or you know, it just doesn't, you didn't line it up exactly to the maxi millimetre or whatever it is that, you know, you thought you did. And also some cardstocks are different thicknesses, and so that makes for things cutting differently. So for example, I have scored this piece of cardstock, oops, at 14.9, but I can already tell that my paper is not going to be the same size as my cardstock. Well, for a start, it's not sitting straight. So come on. Why are you not sitting straight? If you're there and you're there, that should work. So that's better. Okay, so you know, I've definitely, there's something off there, but that's also because paper is thinner than cardstock and so cuts differently. So you know, don't panic about that. And also sometimes your score might not be straight, or you know, whatever. There's lots of different reasons, but do not worry, because when it's on, if it's really bad, trim it, and if it's not bad, leave it. That's my motto. And then this one here, this piece, again, I'm just going to do this flat because we're going to be adding a bow, and then that way it's not too hefty to get through the post. And if you just drop it down slightly and not put it exactly central, you get more of the picture behind, I've discovered. And then that way it looks more like it sits. And then when we put this, because a jar should sit at the bottom, not float up in the middle of the card, I think, personally. And then we pop this on, tie a little knot in this. There we go. And it is lovely with those two colours. You can decide which way round you want it to be. And then I just attached it with a mini glue dot to just on the jar, just by that flower. You can attach it wherever you like. It doesn't have to go there. And of course this doesn't have to be a Christmas card. It can be whatever you want it to be. Just roll your glue dot up underneath so there's nothing of it showing. Okay, just roll it a little bit, it's fine. And then stick it down. And I did it, where did I do it on the last one? I think I did it sort of middle in the last one. But this time I want to do it over this edge because I think that looks better. There. And then trim this one because this is slightly longer now. There we go. There we go. So that's our winter version done, but this time using just inks and a wink of Stella. And it does have a slight sheen to it now, which is quite nice. I don't know if you can catch that up on the camera, but it does have a little bit of a sparkle to it all over, which is lovely. So that's our two winter versions. And then I'm going to tidy up and come back and do the summer version. Okay, so now we're heading into summer. And I've got all the pieces cut out, but I'm going to show you how I did it, obviously. What's the point of a video if I don't show you how I do anything? Okay, so this is a Poppy Parade base, all right, which you wouldn't think would go with pink, but it actually doesn't do bad on this one. So we've got a Poppy Parade base, and then this from the Flowers for Every Season paper is cut to 13.9 by 9.5. And then we've got two pieces, one piece of Whisper White and one piece of Magenta Madness, both cut 11 centimetres by 8. Okay, so they're the same size. All right. Then you'll need a spare piece of Whisper White cardstock for stamping. So let's do this one first. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp in Sahara Sand, stamped off again, the summer flowers. Well, I think they're the summer flowers, to be honest. I don't know, you could sort of, I mean, some flowers come out in the summer too, but I don't think that roses are really winter flowers, or poppies. So it's, I don't know, I'm thinking that the sunflowers are kind of the harvest ones, so therefore the autumny ones. That's how I'm guessing it's being put together. Okay, so there are our flowers, and then what we're going to do is fussy cut those out. All right, so it does take some time to do this. All right, but we're just going to cut all the way around, not being, you know, you don't have to be completely into everything, into every corner, nook and cranny, because some of them are just too tiny for you to worry about. So just do the main ones, and then just make sure that obviously you've got round the rose petals, because you want this to sit on top of your jar of flowers. I mean your jar, so you want the flowers to sit on top of the jar. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So yeah, just whiz round. Moving the paper, not the scissors, is so much easier and much quicker, okay, than if you actually just tried to cut it all by moving the scissors. Don't know why, but it just is. And it also helps you to have much more control over your cutting. So yeah, so we're going to do that. And then coming to the trickier bits, we're just going to cut round this leaf like so, cut round this one, cut round this one, but don't cut too far down into this, I think this is eucalyptus actually, so don't cut too far, just sort of wiggle your way around this one. Doesn't have to be perfect, that. And then a little bit in there to the next leaf, and then down, etc. And then just keep going all the way around that. So I'm not going to do all of that because I've already done one for you. Okay, but that's how you would do it. Tidy that away. So you end up with this. Okay, so you can see it's not perfect. I haven't cut in between all of the eucalyptus or all of these little tiny bobbly bits, but I've gone quite close. It's not too bad. And this is going to be the top of our flowers, so we're going to now colour those in, and I'm going to follow the colours on here. Now, I don't have a Magenta Madness pink, nor do I have a Poppy Parade watercolour pencil, but if you use the Real Red and the Melon Mambo, they're not bad. They're pretty close. They're not perfect, and I can't wait to get the blends that are coming out, which will be perfect, that will match with them. But these are a starting point. So I suggest you start light with just a real sort of whiz round with your pencil, nothing too strong or harsh, and you can see it's close, so we're going to go with it, and live with the fact that it's slightly different, but at least it sort of matches in general terms the tones that we're looking for. Okay, so we're going to go heavier under here because that would be darker because it's in shadow. Okay, and then round the petal lines, heavier in the center. You know, you can sort of see where they would think that this would be darker as well, so follow the example on the papers in front of you, because then it will match the papers if you follow that. Do you see what I mean? Okay, and then same with this one. Whiz all over first just to lay down some background colour. Yeah, I think that's I'm going to say that's a poppy petal, not a rose petal. It is now. Okay, so I'm going to colour this, and again I'm going to speed this up so that you don't have to see all of it with me banging on, because watercolouring does take, using watercolour pencils does take time. It's not a quick, you know, unless you're just going to whiz it over and leave it, it's not a quick colouring method. It's not too bad, but it needs to be, you know, you might not want to watch all of it. Of course, you could always just whiz through this bit if you don't want to watch this at all. That's entirely up to you. Okay, so that's the poppies done. Now what we're going to do is the Malum Mambo. As I say, it's not going to be the same, but we will see how close it is. It's not actually that bad. Again, I think it's like a tone on tone. It's just slightly less neon than the actual Magenta Madness. When you put them together, the Magenta Madness just absolutely pops off the page. It is so bright. So I do think that the Malum Mambo is definitely lighter in colour, but that's okay. You know, we can certainly use it for these purposes. And don't forget that because you've done this in such a light Sahara sand, you might have to actually put the lines of the petals back in to help sort of give you that rose shape, because they're going to get lost otherwise when you do your colouring. So just be aware of that and sort of help to guide those back in, and then when you do your colouring they'll still be there, hopefully. There we go. So that's our rose, and as you can see, it's definitely not the same colour, but it's close. It's close, so we can cope with that. And then I'm just going to use Shaded Spruce, which again, not the right green, but if we just use a little bit, it's the same kind of tonal grouping. So it's not a yellowy green; it's more of a bluey green, which is what jade is as well. So again, if we can just use it in a light version, using our trusty Wink of Stella, then hopefully that will match in quite nicely. Yeah, it's not too bad. I hate not having the right colours, you know, because Stampin' Up to me is all about everything coordinating beautifully. So I hate having to make do, but we are making do, and you know, it's actually not that bad. So I'm turning this into eucalyptus, just so that we've got a bit more of the jade, otherwise it's a bit white really. We'll leave that other stuff as white, but we'll just put a bit of green on this. There we go. So yeah, not too bad, not too bad at all really. The pink is definitely off, but there's not much I can do about that really, because we don't have anything that would make it a little bit more neon. I'll put a bit of Wink of Stella over it and see if that sort of helps a little bit. Certainly will brighten it up a bit. Bit like using your blender pen on your watercolour pencils. You're just adding some fluid to it really, so you're almost then now watercolouring with it. So it's brightened it a little. It's still not the right colour, but we will cope. I'll have to do these again when I do have the right colours, and then you'll be able to see. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to stamp our jar. That's the word I'm looking for. And because we use Sahara sand to create our flower topper, then we're going to use Sahara sand for our jar. So we're going to pop our jar on, stamp it off. Okay, and then I'm just placing the jar sort of down towards the bottom, like so. There we go. And it's nice and light because it's been stamped off, which is what we wanted. And now we can place our flowers. They'll just sit on top like that. And then we'll pop some stems in. We didn't do this on the other one, but I think we've got the hang of this. Oops, she says, getting her fingers covered. I think the shaded spruce stamped off a couple of times looks about not too bad. Yeah, we'll go in with one more. So there's a flat top to the stems, and then there's like a curved bottom. So the flat goes to the top of the jar and the curved goes down to the bottom. There's the stems at the bottom of the jar, just in case you were wondering. There we go. So stamped off a few times, that's pretty good. Alrighty. So now we're assembling. And this should take no time at all. So first of all, I'm going to put all the layers down, and then we'll do all the decoration-y bit afterwards. So we just, oh, picked up my wrong glue. Stop it. There we go. So we just put a little bit of glue on this. But this is going to be offset. Now, to work out where it needs to be offset, you need to put your card down, and my card went that direction. Okay, so you need to make sure it's not going to go off the whole edge of the card, and then this needs to go square with that DSP behind it. So you need to sort of work out how that's going to sit before you stick them together. Okay, that's the easiest way I can describe of doing it. So you sort of layer it on and sort of glue it at the same time. You can layer this one down first if you want to. That might have been easier if I'd have done that. But there we go. So that's that. Oh, do you know what I've missed off the middle of those poppies? Is that really black? But we don't. Do we have a? Oh, I do have a black in the originals. Here we go. There it is. Oh, of course I have a black. That's what we need to do. Just add a little pop of black in there for those. Oh yeah, that's better, isn't it? Just make that really black, sort of central piece. I thought there was something that just didn't look quite right. There we go. That looks much better. Better, yes. Okay. Right, now this piece we're going to then put down flat to our card. You know when you just look at something, you just suddenly realise. Don't be, don't try and straighten the pink edge. Straighten the white edge. You just look at it and you think there's something wrong with that, and I don't know what it is. And then suddenly looking at the paper, I suddenly realised, it's because I don't have enough black. Right, then these I'm going to put up on dimensionals this time because they are going on top of the jar. So we'll pop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 6 I think, just to keep that nice and safe. No soggy bottoms, no middles, remember. There we go, like so, like so. And then that one just sits beautifully on top there, like so. That looks nice, doesn't it? And then we're going to use a pop of magenta ribbon to tie a little bow. And this new ribbon ties so beautifully into a bow. Look at that, gorgeous. It's like a twill. Don't know what it's actually called. Just called Magenta Madness ribbon. In colour ribbon it just says, but it's just beautiful. All of the colours are in it. You know, you can get all of the colours in this ribbon too, so that's really great. And then we'll just snip and snip and glue dot again. Where have I put them? In here. So then again, just grab a glue dot, pick up your ribbon, pick up the glue dot on the back of the ribbon, like so. So now it's sticky on the back, and then we'll just attach that there, so it just sort of covers up the top of those stalks, but doesn't really interfere with the flowers too much. And if you want these to be a bit shorter, you can make them a bit shorter, but I quite like it like that. So there is summer all done, this time in watercolour pencils rather than the blends that we used last time. So you can see the difference. So in this card I used the designer series paper as the layer behind the flowers, and then the plain coloured cardstock behind that. And then in this one I switched it around and put the cardstock behind and the DSP there. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I think that's come out pretty good, along with the different winter one. And then of course you can still add on the summer and the autumn and the spring. So I hope you've enjoyed this. It's a great look at the jar of flowers through the seasons, with all the different beautiful flowers that you can do, mixing in the two different designer series papers as well, and you know, using some of the techniques with the Wink of Stella to pick up ink and the watercolour pencils to do the flowers on this one. So have a play. If you want to buy anything, you can only purchase them through a Stampin' Up demonstrator, so if you don't have one, then please do click on the links below. I would love to be your Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I can just, you know, get in touch with me, and as long as you're in a Stampin' Up country in the UK or European region, then you can shop with me. So thanks ever so much for watching. Please do come back again for my next video, so hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified every time I pop a video on. So thank you very much, and I will see you again soon. You take care now. Bye bye.